Okay, good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to be introduced of today's speaker, Mr. Sudhakar Reddy. I know him personally as a close friend when he was living in Navi Mumbai for the last three and a half years. Mr. Reddy has a very demonstrable career in the corporate world, covering Pharma Force International, then TCS, then Course for Intelligence. These are the marketing analyst companies and pharma-based research companies. And since 2017, he's become a corporate executive coach, and he has started his own organization called nirveda.com, through which he is serving the corporates in the field of personality development or executive development. And he is known among his stakeholders as a change manager, and has been ranked as one of the 10 most promising business coaches by Silicon India magazine recently. And he's enabled the transformation of their performances across the industries. He supported his clients in companies like Supreme Group, About, Citibank, Oracle, Nokia, Pinnacle Biotech, and that he continued to serve his clients throughout the globe. Most of his clients are from USA. At present, he is located in Hyderabad as a on-site executive coach for the Dr. Reddy's Lab organization. Dr. Reddy's Lab specially requested him to be on-site because this particular aspect of coaching and monitoring the executive enhancement is to be at face-to-face. So that's why he moved from Navi Mumbai to Hyderabad in the last September. Now, today we have invited Mr. Sudhakar Reddy to have a different feel of our Gyanavadi session. Instead of technology, privacy, law, we want to know certain things about our own self. That's the purpose of requesting Mr. Reddy to meet us. And the format of today's evening event is going to be around 20-25 minutes. Mr. Sudhakar will explain what is the traits of a professional being in any company, any line of activity, how to be a professional and grow and bring the people around with him to the higher levels of performances. Then we all have a choice, opportunity to seek tips and guidance and his views on the professionalism, what we need to develop as auditors and information security professionals we are. So with this brief introduction, I'm handing over to the forum to Mr. Sudhakar Reddy. Sir, please carry on, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Adepu, for your nice introduction. First, let me check. I hope my audio is clear for all.
Yeah.
Wonderful. A very good evening to you all. I'm especially thrilled to be amongst a group of highly learned people, highly admired people, auditors. When I say auditors, with a pride, the info security, what are this thing you all cover. So before I start off anything, I just wanted to share my 3 experiences, if at all you all allow me. Would that be okay?
You can share your screen, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I will share the screen. Yeah. 1 second. I will share the screen.
It's up now. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. So even before I share certain details on what soft skill is all about and how an individual or as a professional would get benefited out of it, I had 3 personal stories which I wanted to share here. The first story dates back to 2012 when I was with TCS. Back in those days, I still remember that particular memory is very fresh as of today. In Jan, I was invited to host a particular workshop for senior operational leaders in Chennai. So this workshop was in the evening on that particular day. I was taking care of the workshop. The workshop went on well. I was interacting with the participants. Everyone was saying the workshop went on well. We concluded the workshop. We've collected the feedback, formal feedback, and I've shared that with the HR. Exactly after a week, I've received a huge letter, a memo sort from the InfoSec head from our Mumbai office. I was absolutely aghast by looking at that letter. And in fact, the HR, the local HR head visited my office to give that particular memo. I read, gone through the entire memo. After going through the entire memo, I told my HR, the local HR head, so from tomorrow onwards, don't ask me to conduct any workshop. So I don't know whether you could able to guess anything out of it or not, but the essence of the memo is the info security head said, I violated one copyright act while conducting the workshop. I played a particular video to enable or else enhance the entire learning experience. So that was my first tryst with a cybersecurity professional. So that's my first story. The second story dates back to 2019. I was in Kolkata conducting a workshop for elite senior doctors. So one of the doctor is a leading gastroenterologist. He came up to me during the coffee break and explaining one of his recent episodes. So recently, one of the patient went online saying that I visited this particular doctor paying 750 rupees as a fee. He hardly looked at me and wrote a prescription and he sent me out of his office. And from that day till the date he interacted with me, his practice has come down to an extent of 25%. That's the second experience. Now I would like to share the last and the third experience, which happened quite recently, which is a week back. So I was on a long weekend cycle ride with two of my friends. One of the friend happens to be a circle inspector of cybersecurity cell. While we were riding, over the ride, he got a call from his office, and he was supposed to talk to a probable criminal who has indulged in a cybersecurity act. So he was talking to this individual very politely. Again, I was so thrilled. So these are the three stories which I wanted to start this entire session with. So I just wanted to hear some, what you say, opinions or some of your thoughts. What would have happened on all these three stories? You just can give your this thing over the chat. Can I hear some of your this thing? If at all you heard these three stories from me, what is that means the seriousness to share these stories out here?
So the first one is unintentionally you have done it to show thinking that it will be useful for the audience. So it is not intentional action. So that's the one learning. Before doing anything, we need to check back and forth about its authenticity or the right to use or not.
Sure.
But I think the first incident you shared regarding copyright infringement. So basic understanding of law is that if you are using any copyrighted content for educational or this sort of training purpose, it is not infringement of copyright. So that is my understanding of copyright. And if you are using a training or knowledge enhancing purpose, that is not termed as a copyright infringement. So it's better both sides know what are the exact rights and what are the liabilities for any sort of online activities or whenever you are carrying any copyright or trademark related matters. So you should know where you are using it, whether it is infringement or not. That is my understanding regarding your first incident.
Sure. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. So let me take a step further. Thanks for your perspectives. I appreciate a lot. So in the first case, when I seen the tonality of the letter, it was quite hard hitting to me. And I think you might have heard that I've decided not to take or not to conduct any workshop further. Why? Because the tonality of the letter is so hard. So when I interacted with the InfoSec security head in Mumbai, then we had a very nice chat. He explained me why he has written that letter, like you all said. Yeah, I violated the Copyright Act. So he explained what are the seriousness, what are the repercussions, blah, blah, and all. So then I asked him, can I say something to you? He said, go ahead. He said, Ms. I said, your letter, the tonality of your letter is very hard, I think. You might have used a subtle way of writing communication so that I would have taken the real message from you. Unfortunately, I've not taken the real message, but I felt offended. So that is the learning for me in that particular thing. And even he also said, yes, Sudhakar, I would look into it. So that's the first thing. And the second thing in the doctor's episode, we all believe doctors would have a high empathy, isn't it? Unfortunately, this particular doctor, that is the leading gastroenterologist of Kolkata, his empathy levels are very, very low. Whereas the patient who visited him, when I dig deeper, he said the normal practice of his is he sits on the table with a computer on the table, wherein the CCTV footage would be there. He would be looking at those CCTV footages when he is diagnosing or else when he is interacting with the patient, not even looking at the patient. That is his practice. Why? Because he's so qualified by looking at the pulse or else by interacting with the patient, he knows what the patient is undergoing. Unfortunately, the patient haven't taken it in a right sense. Whereas in the third thing, normally we believe police personnel, they have a very low empathy. They talk very rudely and very cruel. Whereas when I was listening to the conversation which my friend was having, I was literally surprised. The way he was talking, I felt he was talking to a friend. His empathy levels are very high. He was explaining to the probable criminal what are the acts of violation he has done. So with that, I just wanted to open now for your feedback. Now you, by
Sir,
this time, you might have understood. Yeah, sorry.
yeah. Quick thing. You see, first example and the last one, a lot of difference I see here. And your friend picked up a phone and he got a call and he spoke to him. And in first instance, he shared an email to you. And I felt conversation is the best way to communicate. Email, I can say, can you come here? If somebody say, come here. That we don't know. When we speak, it makes a lot of difference, I feel. Conversation is a rich way to communicate, I feel, sir. I mean, that's what I felt. He was communicating to that probable whatever potential cyber criminal. He was a good social engineer, your friend. I mean, he was trying to get him close so that he can open up and instead of just driving him crazy, because very, very thin line between sanity and insanity. He was trying to just bring him inside. That's what I feel.
Yes, absolutely. You are spot on. Yeah, I think communication, written communication and the verbal communication, they make a lot of sense. Yes, you're very right. Thank you for that perspective.
Thank you, sir.
So now I would invite you all to ponder on this particular aspect, the soft skill aspect. Before joining this, while preparing for this particular meeting, I was just going in general, what is happening around the infosecurity area around the world. What are the various, soft skills? Probably the cybersecurity professionals would love to look at it. So I randomly bumped into one particular report, which I will just read out for you all, if you allow me. So what it says is, this report is basically from ISACAS. I believe you all know about it. It's an international agency in cybersecurity. So this report is 2021's report. It says they have studied 3,600 cybersecurity professionals, and they've identified 56% out of this 3,600 professionals. Certain soft skills are either lacking or else there is an opportunity to improve. And these soft skills are communication, flexibility, and leadership. And the other one of the biggest skill gaps is maybe the emotional intelligence or else empathy part. And this is the report. I'm not cooking anything. This is the report which I've got online. And what are your responses to it?
Most of the times, our response to a particular situation in terms of maybe a conversation, maybe a report or a feedback, or depend upon our mental as well as the surrounding environments. So, for example, same case may have different surrounding effects in a particular situation. Basically, as a person who want to succeed and enhance our skill or professionalism, we need to understand the surroundings and see what are the factors affecting our behavior, our attitude. It's just like, people say same glass, we look at somebody look at the half filled, somebody look at half filled, half vacant. So that's the only perspective I have, and when we react to a particular situation.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, Sudhakar, this is Ramesh here. One of the perspective in this communication, while it actually can do well, the local culture also has a lot of difference. The same verbiage, vocabulary, we use it also has a different connotation, and that can also give a kind of a different spin to the whole conversation and the situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you're very right. You're very right. So, if at all I have to ask you all a particular situation. See, over a period of time, if at all I as an individual, I'm in a particular profession, and I am so involved into that particular profession day in and day out, 24/7. Though people say that there should be a line between professional life and personal life, but I as an individual feel that personal life and the professional life, that line has blurred a long way back. But because everything is online. So today, if at all I look at the last 2 years, due to this pandemic, people are working from home. If at all you touch any individual, I hope you also would say the same thing. If at all I touch any individual professional, they say that I don't know when I start my office and when I close my office. So the office is starting at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it is getting extended even late into the night, say 11, 12. That's how the people are working. When that is the situation, when an individual is behaving in a particular way, 24/7, 365 days, for say a decade, 2 decades, and 3 decades, that becomes a personality. And imagine when you're interacting socially, I think this professional side of the behavior rubs even on the social behavior. Am I making sense?
No, you are not making sense, because if you are working from 7 to 11 in the night, you are not planning your time properly. And unless you plan your time properly, you cannot work more than 8 to 10 hours. After 10 hours, you get exhausted, you cannot work. That means, and if you must know when to say no. And if you don't know when to say no, then your professional life, personal life, no life is there. So you must know when to say no, you must know how to plan your time, and you must have time for everything.
Wonderfully said.
Sudhakar,
yeah.
this is Ramesh here. I have a different
Yes,
perspective. Point taken, what you said, okay? Especially from the context of so-called India, okay? I might sound negative, but that is the fact. Now, as we all know in the call, I'm sure even the latest report says that the latest country which had come in to enact a law called as right to disconnect, right to disconnect. The country is Belgium, which had come in latest. Typically, the European countries already there, they are there. What is that right to disconnect is keeping that pandemic in situation, what you said the last 2 years, especially. We do not know when we are logging in, when we are logging off. It is no more my privilege. It has become the company's culture and attitude. Okay, especially again, I'm quoting India. I'm sorry to say if I sound negative. Now, European, especially because I work with them, they are very clear. 8 to 5:30 is my office. After 5:30, I do not know whom you are, and I don't want to know till next day morning 9 o'clock unless and until there is a kind of emergency. Full stop. Emergency is from the personal perspective, not from the official perspective. Now, if I am working for an Indian organization in India, do I have the right to say right to disconnect? I will get disconnected by the company, by HR on the same evening. Yeah, this is my thought because I strongly believe in from IT. I have seen how it works. I worked with the typical European organization, and I'm also associated with the European organization now. And I have worked in Indian organization. Oh God, 100% variation. Okay, so at least people in the beginning of their careers, trust me. Okay, if you are really a senior person, you have put in, let's say, 20, 30 years of experience, you have kind of earned your respect, you have earned your money, you have earned your position where you have you will be having probably guts, rights to say, no, I am not available to pick up the call, but I doubt till 10 years, 15 years experience, any person would be able to say no to pick up the calls of their boss in India. This is my thought, yeah.
No, you cannot, you don't, you pick up the call, but if you are valuable to the company and you have created your value, then they cannot say no.
And, Dr. Goyalji, that's why I said it all depends on to whom, because I personally believe in, okay, because I'm also acted as a manager. I had gone through lots of nuts and bolts in my own career to understand how I should behave, how I should associate myself as a people leader. But believe me, in India, I'm extremely sorry, especially in the IT environment, because of so-called competence, what you call competition, cutthroat, marketing, whatever you call. Oh God, it's heights. Yeah. But now I will tell you, with the 30 years of experience, believe me, today I have courage like you to say no, yes. But believe me, 20 years back, I'm very humble to say in this forum, I never had guts, and I look at the same way the current generation. Yeah, thank you.
Well, what you say is right, but I still disagree. Anyhow, let's continue.
So, sir, there is another. Sorry to interrupt. So, when you when what example Ramesh ji and Dr. Goyal sir has put up. So, there is a distinct difference between when it comes to human right of Indian people and human rights of European people, because European have already understood the rights that is 8:30 to 5 is the working hours, and Indians don't have human rights. So that is IT main people, core people should understand how our generation should function. If you want to respect their human rights, you have to come with Indian terms. That is my own perspective.
Absolutely. I'm with you. Yeah.
And if I may add, this is Irfan here. I think this is not the case only with IT, but rather all different industries work in the same fashion as far as India is concerned.
Yeah.
So can we actually relate it with the culture? You know, the Europeans have a different culture than what we have in India, and it is basically culturally we feel that way, and there is.
It's a DNA.
That sort of, it's in DNA.
It's a DNA. It's our culture. We are all yes masters. We never said no. But now situation is changing. I'm aware. Irfan sir, just to tell you, I took an exam because I'm from IT last 30 years. That's all. I am happy to hear from you that it's there in the other domains also. Yeah.
I too belong to IT, but I think that's what we are seeing all along. I mean, if we look at the security guards, right, they have 7 days a week, 12 hours per day. Even somebody who's, guarding the ATM machines. So that's like more than 50% of what we usually work on in our normal days
Yes.
work shifts. So
Yeah. Great. I think that's wonderful perspectives from all. I'm really very happy to hear those all. To just add to these all perspectives, as I worked in 3 different industries, and as a coach, I had means I'm having a privilege to talk to people across industries. So, like you all rightly put, I think it is existing across all the professions, across all the industries within India. That much I can say. People are S masters. People don't have a choice to say no, and they have to absolutely be available at any given point in time. That's how we are operating right. And of course, like Mr. Ramesh has rightly said, things are changing, but maybe in 1 or 2 industries, and probably by the time it comes across the industries, it may take a couple of more years, maybe a decade also. But let's hope for that best.
But sir,
So
I would
why-
like to put one example. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sir, go ahead.
I wanted to give an example here. What Dr.
Mhm.
Goel said and Ramesh shared. See, I agree to disagree with both of them. See, recently I think we have a yes culture. Okay, we'll never say no. That's what even many of the businessmen, I think from Israel also put it. This Indian's culture is yes. They'll say they will do it. Yes, 5 minutes they will say they will come in, but they will say yes, but they'll come after 2-3 hours. So that's our inbuilt. We're hardwired with that. So now recently Amazon's head, India head Amit Agarwal told people, boss, after officers switch off all the emails, nothing. And but some small company they start, what it is your family. They start and I don't want to quote any examples here, but yes, they'll put everything. That will be their baby. With their wives and kids will be second. The company will be first. This is my baby, and they will tell you're like my family. You're like extended family. And when time comes, right, they will just family members will be kicked out. Family members will never be kicked out. I think things are changing, but we should love our job, not the company. I mean, Abdul Kalam, our former president said, right, you should love your job, not the company. Switch up the emails after 5:30. If that doesn't happen, I think it's going to take a toll. It's already taken. We see a lot of divorces happening in India. And it's really, India became famous because of spice and the IT, sir. It is a curse sometimes, I feel. We were happy, honestly. I'm a farmer son. I had a beautiful life. I loved till like 13, 14, I did not even study well. I studied in Kannada medium. My dad was a teacher. And I had really beautiful life. But kids go, they study morning, evening. Sometimes I feel like, we're like, robots, sir. But, sorry, maybe I'm trying to drift away, but yes, fight 9 to 5. After that, we should switch up and shoot to the family. And we are actually somehow going wrong. Basically, fundamentals are being broken here, I feel, sir. Hope I made sense here. Yeah.
Yes, definitely, sir. Definitely. Thanks for your perspective. I think to sum up the entire conversation or his entire perspectives, if at all you might have heard this terminology called as the Great Resignation, which is being hit heavily the entire US. Okay, millions of people have quit their jobs. If at all you dig deeper, why they quit the jobs, this is the basic essence. Why? Because still COVID hit all of us. People used to think work is my life. No, people have really got the sense that work is not alone the life. It is beyond work. People have started moving to their native places, small villages. Even it happened in India. And I can quote a number of examples of my friends in TCS, various organizations across IT. They moved from big cities to their hometowns. Because any which ways they are going to work from home. And they're spending a quality time with their family. Though they're working long hours, but still they feel I'm along with my family. So why I brought these all examples is basically to say there is a softer side to the whole story than the harder side of the story only. What I mean to say is, yes, profession, the hard, the training part is very important to execute and perform at a very high level in that particular industry. But to go to the next level or else to be the great professional, there is something beyond. What is the something beyond? That is the human element. Why? Because be it any professional, like you all said very rightly, I think one gentleman said, if at all you write a mail, it is better to give a call or else meet in person. So every human interaction weighs a lot in terms of those social skills. So these are the three stories why I've shared is to bring out that element of the human angle, bring out that element of that softer side of an individual. We tend to forget because of our hard-earned degrees, because of our professional competencies, the softer side of the story. Hope it is making sense.
Certainly.
So now I just wanted to play a short video mine. So this is not a copyright violation video. This is an advertisement. A quick check. You were able to hear the sound?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
क्योंकि चेहरे पर मास्क और 2 गज की दूरी अभी भी है बहुत जरूरी.
So how was this ad? Is it saying something to all of us? Can you just read the fine understanding of the messaging of this particular advertisement? Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are audible.
Reactions you want to know from us?
So I played this particular advertisement to generate certain thoughts or invigorate certain thoughts. So what are your reactions or responses to this particular advertisement?
If you play once again, we will be watching very keenly because we are too old to follow. I'll have to wear my specs and come back. I just saw that Fevicol is there and probably we are sticking to our stand and we are not ready to move ourselves in life. Once we start moving, things will start happening. That may be the reason. Or you have to have a bonding like a Fevicol, maybe something like that. But if I wear my specs, I can come back and help you.
Okay. Great. So if at all you all wanted me to replay it, I can do that.
Yes,
if
we shall.
Okay.
See it.
Okay.
क्योंकि चेहरे पर मास्क और 2 गज की दूरी अभी भी है बहुत जरूरी।
Yes, it is making everybody to be aware of the social distancing we have to maintain, because that was what is there in that table. This one, I couldn't look into that one that was placed. From there, it was wanted to give a message which is really meaningful by providing such kind of furnitures where you cannot move at all unless you have the social distancing. So there, 50% of the places were blocked using Fevicol and nobody can remove that. So social distancing should continue. That may be the message.
Wonderful, wonderful. So another perspective, maybe let me try bringing in. So if at all I relate with my first story to this particular story, in my first story, I said I received a memo from a cybersecurity head. I was not really understanding the fine message of that memo. I was taken aback, or else I was completely offended that someone has written such a language in spite of I conducting such a beautiful workshop. If at all I compare that particular experience to this particular video, what it says is, no one has really looked at the fine message on the table, saying that the social distancing, still the 2 feet, 2 meters gap should be there. So at times we miss out the finer nuances of life in the larger scheme of things. So it says that you need a little perseverance, you need a small amount of patience to look at the fine details. Is it making sense right now?
It's a wisdom to be followed. Certainly, yes. One should be remaining cool and look the fine prints. Okay, rather
Yes.
than simply hurt by egos. We are no one.
Yes.
We are here for play our game and get off.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very rightly said, sir. Ego. I think that's a wonderful word.
Yes.
Very rightly said. Very rightly said. Yeah. So, are there any other responses from the team? I would appreciate if
people don't go in details. People just see something and then try to decide, okay, this should be the thing, and then go for that. So it's a decision is made without any getting the data, just on the perception, just on their past experience, just on their you can say some type of leanings, and they don't want to get what is the data and to make a decision for that. So they were just trying to pull the chair, and they were just thinking that why the chair is not coming out without reading what the matter is written on that.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
So yeah. I also have a perspective.
Yes, madam.
Meena Lal here. So see, so my perspective is the mind is very, very conditioned. So it doesn't require any thought, any inclination to read anything which might be written on the table or any message. That is one. Second is it's a question of respectfulness, because there is something placed on the table. So one needs to be respectful enough to look at what has been written. That is the second aspect. So that respectfulness bit is getting a little lost by the conditioning of the mind. And the third aspect which I want to bring out here is, even though a message has been written, but everybody is sure enough that the message will not be read. And that is why the chairs have been stuck, only to enforce the message. So there is a requirement of, along with the conditioning, there is always a requirement to think how to enforce the message which has been written, so that people are, compelled not to sit there. So these are my 3 points.
Wonderful, wonderful, madam. Thank you so much to bring out those perspectives. Yeah. And if at all you look in a very minute way, there is one individual with the spectacles who raises his hand calling that manager. He, in fact, he felt offended that the chair is not coming out. What the hell is it? I paid for your burger, I paid for your pizza, whatever it is. And when the manager walks up to him and shows the placard or else shows that particular card on the table, then he gets it. then you can see his reaction, the way he reacts. At times we feel I'm privileged to certain things. If I'm not getting those privileges, I get offended. Wonderful. So with that thought, I just wanted to turn back to you all. In understanding, or else in getting your thoughts, or else in getting your views, what are those one or two things in your life which you feel, probably if at all I have this in a little more quantity, my overall professional experience would look well-rounded. My overall means as an individual would be far better. What are those one or two things which you feel you would need Jarasa extra? Can you just ping that in the chat window, or else you can share your experiences? You can share those one or two things. I can make a note for you all.
So can I take the pick?
Yes, madam, go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
So, I being a little more ambitious, I have a few things, which I would want to mention here that I wish I had a little extra. So the first thing that is on top of my mind is time, but I know nobody can help the situation. I only have to help myself. So that is how do I pull out moments from unproductivity and bring them to productivity. So that's one thing. The other, of course, is at times one becomes, regardless of the fact how patient one is, but there are times when one turns impatient. Now, in those contexts, one needs to remind oneself that one needs to be patient and calm in those situations. The third aspect is the third skill, which I think it's very important to inculcate, is the skill of listening. So, very recently we heard Indira Nui has written a book, My Life in Full. Now, in that she says, she beautifully said that God has given us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we must use it in that proportion. So we must listen more. And of course, the last point on my list is regulation with determination. So these are the 4 things which I think are important to inculcate to become better people rather than only become a better professional. Thank you.
Wonderful, madam. Wonderful, wonderful. That I really appreciate you. So, if at all I read out what madam has said is time. Probably, if at all I extend that particular thing in terms of either managing time or else saying no when I need to say no. Impatient. I think developing patience. And one general assumption, probably I have this assumption that auditors like you all, you have loads of patience. I may be wrong, I may be correct, but that's my perception. Then the other thing is listening. Absolutely. I think I being a coach, most of them, I think whenever I interact with people, 90% of the times I have to keep a patient here, means I have to listen. So at times people say, hey, Sudhakar, you don't say anything. I more often than not wear the coach's hat of listening. That's wonderful. And the other one is, but there's a very interesting thing what madam has said, regulation with determination. That's beautiful. And I've got some things in the chat window, which I would read out for you all. I think one madam had said, learning to say no. I think that same thing what Meena madam has already said. Yeah. Then another gentleman said, I remain calm so that could deal the situation better. We can say silence is gold and calmness is like diamond. Wonderful. Could be strong in managing ourselves. Thank you so much. Then we have another gentleman saying that looking at things. Sorry, if someone wanted to say something.
Please go ahead, sir. I'll follow after this. Yes, I would like to say something.
Okay. Yeah. So another gentleman, see why I'm not taking names is if it will, you all are okay to take names, I can take names. Okay. So Mr. GBX, I'm not sure the complete name of this gentleman. He says that looking at things from other perspectives also, that's being empathy, means empathetic. Then Adepugaru has said, I would have spent some time in pursuing my hobbies, which give happiness and fulfillment rather than stuck to job-related responsibilities. Absolutely. On this context, I will just wanted to quote one recent reading. I know this quite some time back because I was with TCS. The chairman of Tata Group, Mr. N. Chandrasekaran, he said very boldly, if at all I'm not strong, I can't be taking my goals strongly. First thing is I got to be stronger. I got to be fitter. Then only I can pursue a stronger goals. And he inculcates this particular message across the Tata Group. And if at all you all might have read recently, even the CEO of Starbucks, he has given a recent interview. He joined Starbucks in 2020 or 21. I'm not sure about the timeline, but he wrote in a recent interview saying that in 2021, he picked up marathon as an endurance sport. And whenever he gets into a very tricky situation, he goes for a long run. Or as he indulges in some activity or a profession. So that's one interesting thing. Thanks, Adepugaru, for bringing that out. Life is a journey, not a destination. Enjoy your situation as nothing is permanent. Mr. Irfan. Thanks, Mr. Irfan. Yeah, I think some other gentlemen wanted to share something. You can go ahead, sir.
Yes. We may share. I think someone heard me saying, silence is gold. I think I'm just kidding. I was about to quote that. But earlier, when we were kids, right, we used to read this: silence is gold and speech is, silver, something like that. But it is no longer true, sir. Definitely. I mean, I don't know. It's like I see a lot of invasion, like IT invasion happened to India. I think it is a black swan event. People, we had actually politeness when we used to talk to elders, humility. They are our like fundamentals. Now I see people want to create the perception. If I keep quiet, I'm not making out my case. And they want to talk. I mean, someone want to make their point, and I see that's what I think there is a paradigm shift. I'm not sure whether you agree with me or not, but there is definitely change has happened. It's whether for good or bad, I'm not sure. It's beyond my comprehension. But we have changed. We have transformed a lot. Indians, we talk a lot nowadays. That listening skills, and they're succeeding. People who listen, right? They do succeed. They're very composed. But somehow these people make halla bola, and it's everything revolves around me. They do succeed maybe for shorter duration. They make their time in that and go away. That's what I feel, sir. I mean, things have changed here. Silence is no longer gold. If you keep quiet, if you go to United Nations, if you keep quiet, your opponent or rivals are bombarding you. Silence is gold. You have to make your point. On the top of your lungs, you have to scream. I mean, that's a change has happened. Maybe we are economically or becoming stronger. We are married, whatever, Western countries, cultures, they invaded us. I'm not sure. What's your thought on this, sir? What is your take on this?
Sure, I will respond on that, Mr. Ramesh. So before that, let me allow Mr. Gopal Krishnan. So he raised his hand. Go ahead, sir. You wanted to say something.
Yeah. See, these are all values that have been inbuilt from our wisdom from days of yore. They will never change. Somebody simply talks, it will not remain forever. It will be only temporary phase. We should not be in a state of simply talking for the sake of talking, or listening. We should not forget. We should listen and we should give a message. By remaining silent, it's a stronger message than talking. By talking, you are simply exhausting yourself. At the ground level, no results will be coming. You can look into the political leaders. They have lost their credibility after a while. So that is not for the life's endurance. Life's endurance is always remaining calm in the mind. Sthita prajna is the right method taught from the days of yore. Even our Bhagavad Gita says, the right way to manage is managing myself. If I can manage my mind, my senses to be calm and quiet, from there, proper decisions emerge, and that will have a very good administration. Rather than to take a decision, getting enraged, getting talking unnecessarily, and in that state of mind, always the decisions are not wise. They may be clever, they may be hidden with some foxen issues, but that doesn't take the value further, beyond for a certain period. But if you're really wise, you may suffer a bit in the initial stage, but success is guaranteed. Similarly, when we are working for an organization, we have to be calm. I have practiced this from last 40 years in the bureaucracy where full of corruption was there. But I remained calm, and I am even today very happy by God's grace. So it is possible, not that it is not possible. We should not react unnecessarily. That's my way of, this one I developed from my grandfathers, and it has continued. So that's why I always say the value will never change. That's my take, sir.
Agreed, sir. Sorry to interrupt you. I Roger that whatever you said. But see, when you are working in the government, government, departments, right? Like, you saw many people taking bribes. You kept quiet, you said. So I feel like, it's like, we become a Gandhiji monkey in opposite. We have not seen, I have not sold, we're not saying that we did not bring out that. And, I see, in India, it's a corruption. Big thing is happening. And, but we should have started, right, sir? You did not do it. But it's just, instead of saying you, we are becoming a Gandhiji monkey in opposite. I have not seen, I have not told, I have not said. That's what I feel, sir. With all the due respect to you, you are like a senior. I understand. I used to talk to my dad. We always listened. We never looked into their eyes. Now,
in fact, I headed a lot of delegations, a lot of groups, entire teams, especially in the Mumbai airport. We had a very strong team fighting against the Dawood Ibrahim gang for quite a number of years. But we had a highly dedicated team. It is possible to build. We got the best of the results possible. Not that we should always try to react, talk. It is not required. We should actually be sensible all the time. Then only we can be strong. Even if I don't want to say yes to somebody, I will say, even we are working in the office, we have arrested a rank of a commissioner in one of the airports. One of my inspector has arrested a commissioner rank because he indulged in something. So like that courage will come by remaining calm. There is no need to react. There is no need to talk.
Remaining calm is there, but at the same time, you must be able to say a spade. You must be able to say no.
That need not be used by use of word.
But at the same time, it should not that you say, okay, everything in Gita says Shanti. And you are seeing that everyone is corrupt and you are keeping calm. No, that is not.
No,
if something is wrong, you must say very coolly, okay, this is wrong.
No, I'm telling you.
Can I? Sorry,
I will add one line. Sir, you have wrongly understood. Yes. I never said we should not talk, but we should act. We should act. I have never said not to act. We are acting, not talking. Let's do the things and show it rather than talking.
Yeah, agreed. But at the same time, a spade has to be said a spade. And I believe
have to say
exactly.
I don't believe in this Indian system that we are keeping
so can I, gentlemen, can I intervene?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So thank you for your perspectives. I appreciate everyone's perspective. I think everyone has their own viewpoint, and we should appreciate everyone's perspective. That's great. I think a quick time check. We are at 8 o'clock, and I hope it is scheduled for 1 hour. I'm a bit this thing to conclude, but however, it's very good interactions with you all. To sum up a couple of things, okay. I think Mr. Ramesh has asked me a question. What is my perspective? So I would end with that perspective. I think like Mr. Gopal said, whenever we talk, that is coming from a reaction. There is a stimulus and I'm reacting. Always a reaction wouldn't be in the right perspective. If at all we take time, we understand the whole thing and we respond to that particular stimuli, that would be a far better outcome rather than the reaction. So this is my 2 cents. be it like Mr. Gopal Krishnan rightly said, Sthita Prajna, be it whatever Vedas it say, the essence is this: don't react, respond. Yeah. So lastly, I think I just wanted to read out one very interesting message sent by a couple of our friends out here. So one is, thank you for logging off session. Yeah, life is a journey, not a destination. Enjoy every situation as nothing is permanent. Mr. Irfan, thanks for your perspective on that. Life is definitely a journey. We need to enjoy the journey. Yeah. A little extra, I would like to. Sorry,
Mr. Reddy, I mean, we talked. It's a good discussion. We learned a lot of things from you and from our colleagues also. But there are certain things I would like to. There was like in 2005 years back, Chanakya made one timeless statement. I can say old sloka. He said like Ashwam Nayo, Gajam Nayo, Vagram Nayo. I mean, God and God, they're like Ajayaputram Balim Adit. Even Deva Durbala, the weakest of the weakest, they like it. Even if you look at in our company, any company, I mean, top officials are never, when there is a corruption and CVS, whatever, CVJ, the committee, they come and they go for the clerk. I mean, they don't catch hold of the big fish. I mean, this has been true. I mean, they have got big, whatever mouth are, they can scout on the top of the lungs and they make their point. Then where they go later, that is different story. But some Bagra has become gold, right? Scapegoat. Englishmen say that, right? Maybe they picked up from us. I mean, that's so true, sir. I mean, silence, I still disagree. Silence cannot be, and we need to be calm. But we have to make our case with the same decibel, which our other people understand. Maybe, I'm a little bit blunt here. I just wanted to give this, experience I have gone through in my life. 30, 35 years of experience I've gone through in the industry.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for your perspective, sir. So with the last experience sharing, I just wanted to conclude and give it back to Adapu sir to conclude the session. So the last experience is one of the gentlemen, he reached out to me saying that, hey, Sudhakar, I need you to coach me on the email etiquettes. So I was going through his reams of emails, which are probably readable for the outside world. What I understood is, if I look at the timestamps of the emails of his responses, if at all the email comes at 7:39, this gentleman immediately responds at 7:42, 7:43. Okay, so that's the way he used to do. Then I said, see, probably you are reacting to those emails. Just shift the gear, read once, keep it aside. Once you're calm, again, go back to that email, read again. Then you are in a situation to respond to that email rather than react. It is very tough. Saying is very tough. But this gentleman has practiced, maybe it took him 3 months to practice that. After 3 months, he came back to me and said, my life is far better right now. Why? Because he's no more reacting to the emails. He's just responding to the emails. And he has certain time to respond to those emails. Thank you all for your patience in hearing to me. And I would appreciate if at all you send me 1 or 2 those key skills. What is that Jarasa extra you need? That would be highly appreciable. I think some of you already said, but it would be wonderful if at all everyone sends back that. So with that, I give back the mic to Mr. Adepu. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Sudhakar Reddy garu, for the wonderful interactive session. Particularly, our members came their perspective and their views during the discussion. This is something different what we experienced in the so far in our Ganavati sessions, and we want to continue this sort of activities as we plan ahead in the times to come. If any other members have any perspective or questions, I would like to propose a vote of thanks to the session. Ramesh,
Yeah, maybe I can take couple of questions if someone has. I don't know if I made any sense in this last 30-40 minutes, but I am still open to take 1 or 2 questions.
Anyone want to?
Just I want to add a couple of points. See, we were talking of effectiveness of communication as we were discussing earlier, and the loss of communication also. So that particular ad which we saw, how people lost the communication because they expected something on the table and they did not read it, kind of a thing. That is the loss of communication. Now, in interpersonal skills, what is more important is that the trust between the two people, that has its own impact, in the sense that while we say that, okay, communication has to fall into a certain pattern, that is fine as far as the communication between two unknown persons are concerned. It has to fall into a particular pattern. But in terms of corporate communication, where there are already some kind of, say, relationships, trust becomes a key criteria, whereby people, actually we call that as distortion of communication many times. I want to communicate something, but you understand it in a different way. The reason is that the trust between the two of us may not be to the extent that I should think, no, Vijay Shankar will not say like this. Maybe I have misunderstood, or perhaps he has not put it properly. Then only the possibility of the recipient coming back to the sender of the first message for any verification. If that trust is not there, people end up thinking that this is what the other person meant, and that is where I think most of the time the relationships actually get distorted. So I think that is one point which we need to remember, that corporate communication, where there is a relationship built over the rest of the, let us say, activities, has an influence. Whereas when you go into the communication with outsiders, for example, a data protection officer communicating with the data principal, then the way he has to show his empathy, the way he has to show his patience, other things are different. So communication effectiveness depends upon the context in which we are trying to look at, and that has to be built into the understanding of the issues. But anyway, Mr. Sudhakar, thank you for stimulating the thoughts. These are all not things where one person will say that this is the correct thing you have to absorb. It is a question of stimulating the thought, and each one of our people are senior enough to think on their own and try to derive their own understanding of the thought. Yeah, that's not what I wanted to add. Meena has got something to add.
Sir, this topic is very interesting and one can go on discussing.
Yeah.
And actually what I want to share is, Mr. Sudhakar, many a times it happens. Earlier, when in corporate life, when we were writing letters, the point is people were drafting letters in hand so that when they are typed, the typewriter is rolling out the correct draft at the first stage only. Then came a different kind of typewriter where people could generate more number of drafts more easily. So there were certain mistakes which were all right. People were making edits to their drafts multiple times. Now with the computer, the edits are many more and they are possible. The most important thing is, as the edits have become easier to be done, what has happened is the communication has become more cryptic. So the point is, and this has also its genesis in the manner in which we speak. So instead of calling Mr. Navi, I would say Navi. That's the way people want to shorten everything in such a manner that everything becomes cryptic. The point is, the thoughts do not land on one another the way we want, as Mr. Navi just said. the thoughts do not land on one another. The most important thing is, am I able to communicate what I want to communicate? Has the other person understood what I am communicating? No, it doesn't happen that way, because of the fact that, you know, the emails and the convenience brought in by emails has made our communications very, very cryptic. That is one. The other is WhatsApp and messages like that make it worse, because, you know, students' lingo today, or our children's lingo today, you know, they will say ASAP. Now, we also accept in official communication ASAP. We don't want to write as soon as possible. So I think this is this is actually drifting us away from drafting. Forget handwriting. It's drifting us away from good drafting also. So that's my perspective.
Thank you, ma'am.
Wonderful, wonderful, madam. I think you have brought in the perspectives in a very beautiful way. Thanks, Mr. Navi, for your final thoughts. I think, madam, one thing which I liked very well is the way you said, the journey of writing, from the handwritten notes to the typewriter, later on the electronic typewriter, and furthermore to the computer and the days today. Yeah, I think now adding to this all things, there are certain auto correction tools which corrects your entire language. And at times, that's not what you wanted to write. Unfortunately, the computer says something else and we says, okay, and it goes in a different way. Absolutely.
Yeah, but interesting. This topic is very interesting. It can go on.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you, everyone, for the active participation, especially on behalf of FDPPA and on my own behalf. I extend our heartful thanks to Mr. Sudhakar Reddy for his time and sparing this, and we look forward more opportunity to meet him in our future time. And I also thank everyone who have joined today's meeting. The very glad thing is that most of the people have interacted and they've given their perspective on the subject. That is what the whole purpose of our Gyanavardhini, to enhance each and other's knowledge by sharing and caring. I once again propose thanks to everyone, and I conclude this session with these words.